Out on the vast, sun-scorched stage of the African savanna, an ancient war has been raging for, well, millions of years. It's this relentless, brutal struggle for dominance, a timeless question of who really is the top dog, or top cat, as we'll see. So let's dive into this epic rivalry. See? On one side, you've got the king, right? Asserting his power with a roar that shakes the very ground. But on the other, you have the queen. And her cackling laugh echoes across the plains as a direct challenge. This isn't just some backyard squabble. It's a clash between two of nature's most incredible predators, lions and hyenas. To really get it, just imagine this. You've made the perfect sandwich. I mean, it's a work of art. You're just about to take that first glorious bite, and someone swoops in, snatches it, and runs off laughing their head off. Annoying, right? Well, for lions and hyenas, that's just a regular Tuesday. Except for them, the stakes are literally life and death. Okay, so who are these rivals really? Because there are a ton of myths floating around, especially about one of them being, just a silly clown. It's time to separate the facts from the fiction and properly meet our contenders. And this, right here, really frames the whole conflict perfectly. In one corner, you've got the lion, the absolute embodiment of sheer explosive power and a master of the ambush. And in the other corner, the hyena, a creature of, you guessed it, surprising intelligence, incredible endurance, and a social structure that might just blow your mind. So we all know the lion, the so-called king of the savanna. The males can get up to 550 pounds. That's like 3 of me combined. But the real heart of the pride? It's the lionesses. They are the primary hunters, working together with flawless coordination. And they're not just feeding themselves, they're actually keeping the entire ecosystem in balance by controlling the big herbivore populations. It's a huge job. And here is where we bust a major, major myth. People think hyenas are just these laughing, scavenging dogs. Wrong. On all accounts. Genetically, they're actually more closely related to cats. And scavengers, not even close. Spotted hyenas are crazy effective hunters, taking down up to 90% of their own food. That whole scavenging reputation is, frankly, just bad PR. And if you need just one reason to never, ever underestimate a hyena, here it is. Look at their bite. A lion's bite force is a powerful 650 psi, for sure. But a hyena's? A jaw-dropping 1100 psi. That's almost double. They can literally crush bones that other predators can't even put a scratch on. So why? Why do they hate each other so much? Well, it really boils down to one simple, brutal fact: survival. And it all starts with what's on the menu. The biggest issue is this: a massive overlap in their diets. We're talking nearly 60% of what lions and hyenas eat is the exact same stuff. They're both going after zebras, wildebeests, and buffalo, all in the same territory. I mean, when you're fighting for the exact same limited resources, conflict isn't just likely, it's absolutely inevitable. But, and this is important, it gets so much darker than just stealing dinner from each other. This isn't about today's meal. This is a long-term strategic war, and the goal is to weaken the enemy for generations to come. And this is the truly harsh reality of that war. Both lions and hyenas will actively hunt down and kill each other's young. And here's the key part. The cubs are not eaten. This is pure, cold-blooded strategy. Every cub that's killed is one less future competitor for that precious territory and food. It's just a brutal, self-perpetuating cycle of vengeance. So, when these two ancient rivals finally meet on the battlefield, how does it all go down? It's a classic matchup, really. The unstoppable force versus the immovable object. Or, maybe more accurately, it's sheer power versus overwhelming numbers. Here's the core dynamic of pretty much every fight they have. One-on-one, the lion's incredible size and strength almost always wins the day. No contest. But when that ratio hits 3 or more hyenas to just one lion, the tables turn completely. At that point, victory almost always goes to the hyenas. It is all about the numbers game. And hyenas have perfected a strategy to use those numbers. It's called mobbing. And believe me, it's not some chaotic free-for-all. It's a coordinated assault. First, they surround their target. Then they distract, using those unnerving calls and darting movements. They just wear the lions down with sheer numbers until, in all the confusion, they seize the prize and vanish. It's calculated and incredibly efficient. So what we have are two very different but equally effective sets of tools. The lion has that brute force. A single swipe from a 500-pound male can be a death sentence. But the hyena has that insane endurance, that teamwork, and of course, that bone-crushing bite. This is exactly why their conflict is so balanced and why it's lasted for millennia. Now, this constant war doesn't just affect the lions and hyenas themselves. Oh no, their rivalry actually sends ripples out across the entire African savanna, shaping the lives of pretty much every creature out there. You know, it's kind of ironic, but their endless conflict actually creates balance. It stops either species from becoming too dominant. It literally changes where huge herds of wildebeest and zebra decide to graze, and all the leftovers from their battles, well, they feed everybody else, from leopards to vultures. This rivalry is a powerful engine for the whole ecosystem. But now, this ancient rivalry is facing a totally new kind of threat. An enemy that neither lions nor hyenas can fight with tooth or claw. It's a shared enemy, and it's changing the very rules of their eternal war. First off, the climate itself is turning against them. A 1.5-degree Fahrenheit rise in temperature. Now, that might not sound like a lot to you and me, but out there it means longer, more brutal, dry seasons. Water holes just disappear, and the grasslands that feed their prey, they turn to dust. And at the exact same time, their world is literally shrinking. A staggering 75%, that's 3/4, of all savanna landscapes have been lost to human activity. Their territories are being squeezed into smaller and smaller areas and into closer contact, not just with each other, but with us. And here's the devastating result of all that pressure. When things like wildfires destroy the landscape, prey becomes scarce, desperation kicks in, and confrontations between lions and hyenas, they skyrocket by 45%. Their ancient rivalry is being cranked up to a totally unsustainable level. And this really is the main takeaway. You know, when we watch these two species fight, it's so easy to pick a side, to root for one over the other. But there is no hero here, and there is no villain. There are only two incredibly resilient species, locked in this ancient struggle, now facing a brand new existential threat. Together, they are, simply, survivors. Which leaves us with a final, pretty sobering question. For millions of years, their war has defined the savanna. But in a world where the battlefield itself is disappearing, can their ancient rivalry, and more importantly, can they themselves even survive?